Look like I have an afro. What's going on, everybody? It's the Creative Fro checking back in for another episode of Fireside Tech. I hope you enjoyed your week and are ready to learn something new. Today, I'm gonna be going over how to clean up your text. And now I know this might sound a little bit boring, but I think it's also a very important skill to have for when it comes to professional video editing. Before I jump into today's video, let me remind you real quick to hit the big red subscribe button if you have yet to already, and also turn that notification bell on just for fun. So I used to look around for fonts online thinking that it would make my text look better. But now I found out these little small text tips. This has really helped me with my text editing skills. Why don't we jump onto the computer now so I can show you how to clean up your text. Okay, everybody, I am now on Final Cut Pro and I have inserted some basic titles into the timeline so we can go about adjusting them. The first tip for cleaning up your text is called kerning. And now what kerning is it's the adjustment of spacing in between individual characters. Well-kerned text should have the same surface area between each pair of letters or numbers. So let me show you an example now so you can get a visual of how that looks. Let's choose text here. So I'm just gonna go with this text here for now, and we'll change this one to the same. So I've chosen Arial for both text, and let's put it at 100 size, make it a little bit bigger. First glance at this text, you might think it's okay, but there is something we can do to make it better. And this is where the kerning comes into play. So we want to zoom into the text a little bit more, about 75%. Let's go a little bit more. Perfect. So now between the K and the E is where I'm placing my cursor. And now I'm going down to kerning here where you can see, and I'm gonna pull it closer to that K. So leave about that much space right there. And now we need to fix up between the E and the R. So we're gonna put our cursor there and pull the kerning, fix it like that. So now we wanna make sure each space between the letters are about the same between every single one. In between the R and the N right here, I'm going to pull the kern, and in between the I and the N. So at the top we have our original text, which has no kerning, and at the bottom is where we have fixed it. So the spacing is a little bit more tighter, and as you can see, it looks a tad more clean than the top. Another thing you could do to help clean up your text is to choose a sans serif font. It's easier to read these unless you're going for an old school look. You can use a serif font, which is Times New Roman, Courier, or Copperplate, and these are all found inside of Final Cut Pro here. Now, if you choose this font, a serif font, you're gonna have this little extra stroke off the letters here. So if that's the kind of style you're looking for, choose that kind of text. Another tip I have here for you is the caps lock. So the all-star. So now you can see I capitalized each of these words here, but now that doesn't really look so clean. In Final Cut Pro, there is a little option you can choose here in the inspector panel called all caps. And I'm gonna turn that on. It looks a little bit more clean now. We can fix the kerning. So let me go in and do that real quick. Alright, so now you can see with those two simple little tips, all we did was turn on the caps and kern the text, and now it looks a lot more professional and a lot more clean. The other tip I have for you is keep it simple. You don't want to get too crazy with the text and going and changing the colors and the font size and stuff like that too much, because it's supposed to be legible and text is just adding context to the video, so you don't want it to take away too much from the visuals that you have playing. If you're going to use two fonts, make sure that they are very different so that they do look completely different. Now let me do an example. Here is how you can make two different fonts. So we can keep creative as the Arial regular, but now let's highlight the fro part and choose, let's go with a bold italic. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and now here you have a text that has two different fonts, but it's the same at the same time, because first is Arial regular, and then our second font was the bold italic. So if you're gonna go about using two fonts, you probably want to choose the same font, but then change its size. So you want to go with the regular, bold, light, italic, whatever it may be, but that's the only way you go about using two text at the same time. Don't choose two way different fonts, because that's gonna look super weird. I'll show you here now. You can see just kind of, they really do clash with each other. Another tip I'll give you guys here is to find new fonts. This is one of the websites that I like using a lot. It's called 1001freefonts.com, and you can see there's a whole bunch of categories at the top here you can choose, or you can just scroll through simply and go page by page, but there are a lot of good options in here. Now all you have to do is download them, and they're all free. For some of these you can buy them for the commercial use if you need to use that commercially, but yeah, you have that option if you need that. So once you're all done and you think everything is good, have somebody else read over it again to make sure it's final, because when you send this project out, that's all you have, and you don't want a spelling mistake to be made after everything else is already done. That is pretty much all I have for you today on how to take your text to the next level. Let's jump back in front of that fire and close out this video. So I hope you guys learned something new with those tips that I use to clean up my text. Like the video if you did. Comment down below if there's anything you want to see for Fireside Tech, and share this video if you think it could help somebody. I hope you guys enjoy this upcoming week and crush it. I can't wait to see you next week in front of this fire again. It's a Creative Fro, and I'm out.